The Indiana Fever just witnessed their worst nightmare come true. And what happened inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse last night will have you questioning everything about this franchise's future. Without Caitlin Clark on the court, the Fever didn't just lose to Atlanta, they completely collapsed in front of thousands of empty seats, while fans literally walked out chanting for their missing superstar. And before we dive into this absolute disaster, make sure to hit that like button if you think the Fever are nothing without Caitlin Clark, because what I'm about to reveal will shock even the most loyal Indiana fans. This wasn't just a playoff loss. This was a complete exposure of everything wrong with the Indiana Fever when their franchise player isn't carrying them. 80-68 doesn't even tell half the story, because what really happened was so much worse than the scoreboard showed. Aaliyah Boston, the supposed future of this franchise alongside Clark, managed just 8 points on 3 of 9 shooting, and here's the kicker. She only had 4 points until garbage time made her stats look slightly less embarrassing. This is your #1 draft pick from 2023. The player who's supposed to be the cornerstone when Clark isn't available, and she completely vanished when it mattered most. But that wasn't the whole story, because Natasha Howard's performance was somehow even more pathetic. 5 points on 2 of 7 shooting from a 3-time WNBA champion who averaged over 17 points just last season. This is someone with 2 All-Star appearances and an All-WNBA team selection, and she took 7 shots in a playoff game where she was supposed to step up as a leader. 7 shots. That's not just disappointing, that's borderline insulting to every fan who showed up expecting to see professional basketball. The veteran presence that was supposed to guide this team through adversity instead looked completely washed and uninterested in even trying to fill the void left by Clark's absence. What happened next would shock everyone watching, because by halftime, entire sections of the arena were noticeably empty despite this being officially reported as a sellout. Fans were literally leaving their seats, and some started chanting, "We want Caitlin," loud enough to be heard on the broadcast. The energy in the building was so flat that even Kelsey Mitchell, who was the only Fever player actually trying with her 27 points on 9 of 18 shooting, looked defeated by the lack of crowd support. This is unprecedented for a playoff game, especially one at home, and it sent a clear message that this franchise's entire identity revolves around one player. The most revealing part came when head coach Stephanie White got a technical foul trying to fire up her team, but it was already too late. Her rotations were absolutely baffling with Boston, and Howard combining for just 16 shot attempts, while role players like Odyssey Sims took 7 shots and Ariel Powers took 4. These aren't the players you want leading your offense in the playoffs, yet White seemed content to let her supposed stars hide in the shadows, while the Dream controlled every aspect of the game. The coaching staff had no answers, no adjustments, and most importantly, no way to motivate a team that clearly didn't believe they could win without their superstar guard. But here's where things get really controversial, and why Fever fans have every right to be furious. The team's 3-point shooting was an absolute joke, with Boston, Howard, and Lexi Hull combining to go 8 of 29 from deep with just 1 made 3 between all 3 of them. In 2025 professional basketball, that's not just bad, it's completely unacceptable. The modern WNBA requires spacing and outside shooting, yet the Fever looked like they were playing basketball from 2 decades ago. Without Clark's gravity pulling defenders and creating open looks, nobody on this roster seems capable of generating their own offense or making the Dream pay for packing the paint. What's even more shocking is how this exposed the complete lack of depth on Indiana's roster. When your third best player without Clark is struggling to get double digits, and your bench contribution is virtually non-existent, you're not a playoff team, you're a one-woman show masquerading as a contender. The Dream didn't even play particularly well, shooting just 42% from the field, but they didn't need to because the Fever were so utterly lost without their floor general. Atlanta's Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray combined for 38 points, while Indiana's supposed stars combined for 13. And that tells you everything you need to know about the talent gap when Clark isn't there to elevate everyone around her. The aftermath of this disaster is where things get really interesting, because social media absolutely exploded, with Fever fans demanding answers. Posts calling for roster changes, coaching changes, and even questioning whether Boston deserves her starting spot went viral within hours. The narrative that Boston is a future star took a massive hit. And honestly, after watching her disappear in the biggest game of the season so far, can you blame fans for having doubts? She's had a full season plus to develop chemistry with this team, yet without Clark spoon-feeding her easy buckets, she looked like a role player at best. Meanwhile, Natasha Howard's reputation as a championship-caliber veteran is completely shot after this performance. Fans are already calling her washed, saying she's stealing minutes from younger players who might actually show some fight. When you've won 3 championships and can even demand double-digit shot attempts in a playoff game where you're supposed to be a primary option, questions about your motivation and desire become very legitimate. The Fever signed her to be that 4th star alongside Clark, Boston, and Mitchell, but she's playing like someone who's just collecting paychecks until retirement. The financial implications of this are massive too, because those empty seats represent lost revenue, lost momentum, and most importantly, lost faith from a fan base that's been waiting decades for relevance. The Fever finally had something special with Clark leading the charge, but this game proved they're still the same poverty franchise underneath, when she's not there to mask their deficiencies. Season ticket holders are already threatening not to renew if the team doesn't make major changes, and corporate sponsors have to be wondering if their investment is worth it when half the arena walks out during a playoff game. But wait, it gets worse because the officiating controversy added another layer to this disaster. The refs were absolutely terrible for both teams with phantom calls, missed violations, and zero consistency throughout the game. However, and this is crucial, bad officiating doesn't excuse bad play. The Fever didn't lose because of the refs. They lost because 2/3 of their supposed big 3 decided not to show up. When you're getting outworked, out-hustled, and outplayed at home in the playoffs, you can't blame the Zebras for your failures. The psychological damage from this loss might be irreversible because now every team in the WNBA knows exactly how to beat Indiana. Just rough up Clark, get her in foul trouble or injured, and watch the rest of the roster crumble under pressure. The blueprint is out there for everyone to see, and unless Boston and Howard suddenly discover some pride and competitive fire, this team is going nowhere fast. The Dream didn't even have to play particularly physical or dirty. They just played basic playoff basketball, and the Fever folded like a cheap suit. What's particularly damning is that this wasn't some fluke or off night. This was a pattern finally being exposed on the biggest stage. All season long, whenever Clark sat for extended minutes or had an off game, the Fever struggled mightily. The advanced stats showed they're literally a negative team without her on the floor, and that's with supposedly elite talent like Boston and Howard playing alongside Mitchell. If your #1 draft pick center and veteran all-star forward can't keep you competitive without your point guard, you don't have a team, you have a collection of individuals who happen to wear the same jersey. The media reaction has been brutal but honest, with even the most optimistic analysts admitting the Fever are fraudulent contenders without Clark healthy and dominant. National broadcasts are already discussing whether Indiana wasted Clark's rookie season by not surrounding her with better talent. And that conversation is only going to intensify after this embarrassment. When Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal are clowning your team on national television for being a one-player squad, you know you've hit rock bottom. Looking ahead, the pressure on this organization is immense because Clark won't be around forever and windows close quickly in professional sports. If they can't build a legitimate supporting cast around her, she'll eventually want out, just like every other star who's been stuck on a terrible team. The Fever have maybe 2 or 3 years maximum to prove they're serious about winning before Clark starts eyeing bigger markets and better situations. This loss wasn't just about one game, it was about exposing the fundamental flaws that could cost Indiana their once-in-a-generation talent. The solution seems obvious, but executing it will be incredibly difficult. They need to either unlock whatever potential Boston supposedly has, or admit she's not the co-star they thought she was drafting. Howard needs to be moved for literally anything of value, because she's taking up cap space and minutes while contributing nothing. The coaching staff needs a complete overhaul because Stephanie White has proven she can't maximize this roster's talent or make in-game adjustments. Most importantly, they need to find players who can actually shoot and create their own offense because right now, it's Clark or nothing. So here's the brutal truth that every Fever fan needs to accept. Without Caitlin Clark, this team is arguably the worst in the WNBA. They have no identity, no system, no heart, and most importantly, no hope. The empty seats and walking fans weren't just protesting one bad game, they were sending a message that they won't support mediocrity anymore. After decades of irrelevance, Indiana fans finally got a taste of what winning feels like with Clark, and they're not going back to accepting garbage basketball just because management can't build a competent roster. If you think the Fever need to blow it up and start over around Clark, drop a comment below and let me know what moves you'd make. Don't forget to subscribe for more WNBA coverage because this playoff series is far from over and things might get even uglier before they get better. The question isn't whether Indiana can win without Clark anymore, it's whether they can even compete at a professional